Good evening once again, and thank you once again for staying with us. But then if you didn't, you're going to miss out on the best part of the evening. We have with us, there's too much pressure, he says, far too much pressure. But anyway, they're all here to see you, Gehan and Dino. Thank you very much to Cargills, our festival title sponsor, been with us through 4 weeks and been sort of one of those ever supportive sponsors. Our event sponsor, UNFPA, thank you very much. Wellness sponsor, Healing Island, who have been giving you those sanitizing wipes, which are very easy to carry around instead of those little, horrid little bottles, which generally leak. And then we have Light 87. Thank you very much for all the publicity you've given us throughout the 4 weeks, to High Online, Weekend Online, and Daily Mirror Online. Thank you very, very much. The spread has been amazing. To Wine World, you're enjoying wines and Prosecco and cocktails today. Those wines are being given to us by Wine World. And in fact, the cocktails today, which inspired by Tharu herself and crafted by Ben, is the Karapincha ginger beer, which has a bit of vodka. Well, I think it's a bit, but really it isn't. It's quite a bit of vodka. And the Kissed ginger beer, which is from Cargills. And the mocktail uses the Kissed Absolute Red Apple juice with sage and ginger. Also, if you'd like to stay on and enjoy the ambience here at Lake Lodge, Table by Tharu will be giving you a 10% off on your dining menu today. So those are our sponsors. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, when Mahika and I initially wanted to sort of end this festival with a bang, so to speak, the first names that came up were these two.
Really?
It was, seriously, because our last day was called the Disruptors, and you've actually disrupted everything, both of you. Comedy mainly, and, well, mindset, the way messages are brought to people, how social consciousness is impacted, and both Gehan Blok and Dino Corera, I know that they've had their share of naysayers. You've been at the butt end of quite a few ribald jokes, as well as, well, not so nice things either. Yeah. But you've taken on the baton and run the marathon. Multiple roles have been played by these two, including female characters. And that is something that I was very interested in, so we will talk about that later. But let me give you a little bit about both Dino and Gehan. Dino specifically, I mean, they're not just pretty faces and people that you look at on your phone and your laptop and laugh because they are funny. But Dino, for instance, has 10 years experience in the media. I've seen him be an amazing MC. He's also he heads a company called Layup, which is an award-winning startup specializing in optimizing corporate training engagement. And his multiple roles on stage, not only being a newsreader and a radio personality, but the serious drama and absurd theatre and musical theatre, and his penchant for sharp, witty dialogue, thirst for awareness and education, and a passion for advocacy gives him the perfect platform to dive headfirst into the causes closest to his heart.
Sure, best intro ever.
Sounds good, right?
Thank you.
Wait until you hear the next one.
Okay.
Woo-hoo. And Gehan, he's a marketer specializing in digital media and a CIM certified lecturer in digital marketing. See, I said not just a pretty face. And his voice and presence is utterly recognizable wherever he is, in the theatre, in radio, or in film. He co-founded the theatre company Identities Inc., besides acting in nearly all of Sri Lanka's theatre company productions, and with a long list of theatre credits to his name, has directed some productions as well under Identities Inc. He has acted in the UK TV series The Good Karma Hospital, collated dubbing experiences in According to Matthew and a few more films, and while his passion is to evolve digital and social media experience with a brand of contemporary Sri Lankan humor. Done?
Whew.
Happy?
Yeah, Good Karma was in the background though. It's not like...
Right. So let me dive straight into this. How do you pick the women you portray in your skits?
Gehan, you want to take that?
I think we usually switch. So like if I do one video, then Dino takes the reins in the next one. That's how it works. So usually if I do female roles in one, the next one, Dino has to play it. So that's how we.
And
go
also
about
when
it.
it comes to external actors who we involve,
Yeah.
sometimes there are scenarios where we can't play all the roles because
Yeah.
of busy production time, and then there are some concepts that require certain characters to be a certain way. So we work with the actresses we worked with for quite some time. Sulo is one of them. She's also a very, very talented actress who's
Yeah.
been involved in multiple theatrical productions. We've also discovered a lot of people along the way who we work with. Sometimes they come as extras and end up becoming quite significant characters.
Like Padma.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen our new video. I don't know if you have seen it. Lasanti, the caretaker. Yeah, so she's a extra artist who has been there in the scene for God knows how long, like 10, 15 years maybe. And she was discovered through one of our videos where we used her in our zombie video. She was an extra. She was Mrs. Ambuldenia, then she came and she acted, and then we used her in HealthNet. She's the one who says Amma to do at the end, and that became a meme, and she became very popular. She got her own teledrama series also on Swarnavahini, and she sent me a clip recently. I showed it to Dino as well. So she's one of those ladies who have been discovered through our videos, and she's been in the scene as an extra artist in the background for almost 10 to 15 years.
So it's been a combination of things, Savi. It's been basically certain characters, because we write it given production times and demanding schedules. We feel it's best we portray the roles because we know exactly where we want to take the character. In terms of actresses, sometimes we write with certain people in mind and then we cast them accordingly. And then, of course, we have these fortunate experiences we have when we experiment on set, and sometimes during discussions we think, she might work for this. And that's how it happens. It's never like this massive casting process, or it's quite organic, to be very honest.
So when either of you play a female role, what actually comes into your mind? How do you actually put that female role together?
We knew this was coming. Well, a lot of the time, one thing, if you've watched a lot of our sketches, something we really try to do a lot is we have a whole bunch of social and subliminal messaging in the characters. And I think that comes with the writing. So when you're crafting a character and deciding what she needs to do in the storyline, what her arcs are, the peaks and valleys, so to speak, you also have to think about, in the larger context of things, how did you portray this character in a larger setting, or as a broader picture, so to speak. So what we try to do more often than not is don characters who end up becoming kind of major roles, or we champion them. I think that's the best way to explain it. If you notice, a lot of the time in a lot of the sketches, the person who seems to be like the least important from a societal perspective ends up becoming probably the most prominent. For example, Gehan mentioned the example of Lasanti in that sketch we did, where she's taking care of this old lady and the kids come to try and get all her money and her property. And in the end, the old lady decides to hand over the property to the caretaker, Lasanti, because she's done the right thing in taking care of her and making sure she's okay. And we also gave her a word like Amma Todu, because like people generally stereotype female characters as speaking a certain way, or they're spoken down to in most contexts. But what we try to do is, if we are portraying negative characters, we use that to reinforce the fact that they're negative characters. And when you're positioning characters as positive characters, or trying to break archetypes or stereotypes, you try to do it in a way where they tend to break away from what is considered normal today, especially amongst most portrayers on mainstream media, and we try to champion them as much as possible. I think that's the best way to explain it. And then there were scenarios like, for example, we did this rap song for a supermarket brand, and I remember Gehan and I discussing, we put this line saying, Hatem passe ganu gedara hitapu kale kale, which basically is this thing where not just like outside Colombo, but even Colombo society has this. If they have daughters in your house, you're like, don't go out late at night, don't step out of the house after 7, don't go shopping or for anything at all. So we kind of want to portray that women are independent and they can do whatever they want. I mean, yeah. and that's fair.
I think what's important with our sort of YouTube channel is that, see, Colombo audiences, they know how, like, to break stereotypes. They understand, what's wrong is wrong, and this is not how women should be portrayed. But when you upload a video on YouTube, it's reaching like the mass audience, like a huge audience. Everyone around Sri Lanka is watching this, and some of them still, if you look at all the content creators out there, they love playing to the gallery. They love catering to that sort of mass sort of audience, that sort of mass thinking. Okay, a woman should be portrayed this way. If you look at the TVCs even now, I was discussing this with Dino as well. Still, if you see like a female character, it's always in a kitchen, in a bedroom. You don't see them portrayed. I mean, you see a few, but not so much when it comes to mainstream sort of advertising or whatever. So what we tend to do, and because we reach that audience, we reach a massive mass audience with some of our videos, we tend to champion the female characters always, and we tend to break all the stereotypes always. Prime example was that whole Hayam Passe, Ganu Gedara, Hayam Passe, Ganu Gedara Hitpakali Kelly is like a line we used. And also even in Mohan, when the wife calls saying, I'm waiting for you to come home to cut the vegetables, and when he says something, she says, I'm not your mother. Well, who do you think I am? Your mother? Yeah. This is something I get a lot from my wife. So yeah, so those lines actually go into our scripts all the time. And we try to portray those sort of messages because we know that we understand we reach a mass audience, so we tend to break all those stereotypes in whichever way we can in all our sketches. So yeah.
You did say that, well, Colombo audiences know better.
They know better more than the mass audience. I'm not saying they know better. Relatively, in comparison to the wider audience out there, because we have performed certain sketches of V-Day based on stories that actually happen in Colombo. So Colombo is, not a Sudana in that sense.
Okay, so have either of you or both of you learned or been inspired by you, your wife, and you, your girlfriends, significant others, in writing these female roles?
Of course. I think my mom and my wife are like, obviously, even my mom is a single, almost parent, so everything, most of the stuff, the jokes I use, even in my stand-up and whatever, if you watch our recent show, it was all on my mom and my wife. So yeah, and they're very strong female personalities, and I love that they're like that. Even all our videos, we screen it through Shazia, because she has a better understanding of what's right. Certain things we say, she might say, better not say this. This is not the most woke thing to say right now. So we'd probably think about it, and we'll probably edit it and then only run it.
Yeah, because Gehan's right, because growing up, we were in all-boys school. There are a lot of things that have changed over time, and I think as men, you kind of have a responsibility to open yourself up to that change.
Yeah.
We learned a lot being part of V-Day by Grassrooted, because you really see more deeply the stories of people someone who could possibly be your neighbor. It's not some far-fetched town in Anguranketa or something like that. These are stories from Colombo, and it's both ghastly, horrifying, and very real at the same time. And to me, that was a very big turning point in terms of how we perceive women, and they are no longer like the Badua Kerala conversation goes out the window, right? And you tend to have more rational conversation, and to me that has really helped. Also relationships sometimes with friends, and you tend to sometimes correct yourself a lot more, which I really appreciate, and it's something I've learned, and I think that's important. I understand that things were done a certain way. Slavery was normal quite a few years back, right, if you really think about it. But like BLM is a great example of how much things have changed and how progressive things have become, and how you can't stereotype people or gender roles anymore. And I think you need to be open to that change if you're going to be able to better yourself as much as you're trying to better society. So I think that is a big lesson we've both learned from V-Day and things like that. And Shazia is constantly like a kind of compass sometimes in that direction. Because if you slip, there's someone who always helps you direct yourself, and that's very important to us. But female characters, yeah, for me, it's my mum. I try not to talk about my exes in sketches.
Please
That's
don't.
a problem.
Please don't do it.
Too many, is it?
But yeah, I mean, we both had very strong female role models in our life, which are mums. Like, they pushed us to do a lot, and I think we owe a lot of who we are to our mums, and that is something we've learned a lot from, and that is another reason why we tend to respect older female characters a lot more, even sometimes subliminally because of that reason, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and put down the men all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that note, not really the putting down the men, but given that you, given that you are constantly sort of championing your causes, most of them or some of them are very, very much pro-female. Have you had, or I know you have had, some sort of not very nice experiences where people have actually challenged you or maybe made jokes or, you know, not said very nice things about you?
Yeah. Can I say explicit words here? Is that okay? Is that okay? Okay. So we did this video for Pick Me. That was a brand, and obviously Pick Me at that particular time was getting a lot of hate because it was straight after the Easter Sunday attack. So Pick Me was getting a lot of hate saying that, you know, you're a Muslim brand, and, you know, even when they came to us, they said that even a 25% off sort of post would get like racist comments, saying 25% off a certain burger would get racist comments. So when they came to us, we said, look, okay, when we put this video out, we're going to get a lot of hate for it. And it was a video where we were portraying two mothers. It was a video called Amma Was. Two mothers at this vegetable stall comparing their sons and competing with each other. And well, when we put the video out, we got a lot of hate for it. One of the things we were called was Thampinta Pukadena Punnayodena. And that was, you know, you could filter down that sort of comment and you'd see about 100 of those, the same sort of comment. So yeah, we got a lot of hate for that particular portrayal of the female characters. But one thing though, we told the client that we're going to make it so funny that even the most racist, bigoted, sort of sexist human being is going to watch it. Probably not going to share it, but they're going to keep watching it because it's so damn funny. So we made it so funny that on Facebook it has about 3.5 million organic views with zero money spent on it. Necessarily doesn't have the number of shares because it's obviously, when you look at the views to shares, it's about 10,000 shares, which is not the case. Normally we'd probably get about 50,000 shares for a 3.5 million view video. So it shows they're watching it, but they're not sharing it, but they keep on watching it. So it really worked, and it actually gave us the courage to keep on doing more of that stuff and not you know, cut off the noise per se, all those, you know, terrible comments you get, because we do get a lot of those comments, and we've stopped caring actually. So
what made you actually get into this area of very disruptive comedy? We've not had as deep a sense of this disruptive comedy in Sri Lanka, maybe in the Sinhala media, Sinhala in the vernacular, but definitely not where you have now married the two languages and you do this. What made you actually get in?
The money, Savi?
Of course.
yeah, it's all about the money. Yeah.
No,
Lots.
I mean...
Dollars.
Yes, it is. Don't say no.
$200 now. Yeah.
But no, it's not just about the money. I mean, the financial gain is one part of it. We've done theatre for a long time, and one thing we've both been able to, or fortunate enough to work with directors where we did a lot of satire. We're both into Svedilla, and we learned a lot about how to work a crowd, even with stand-up comedy, right? One thing we did notice on YouTube was there were a lot of creators coming out, but there weren't creators who were focusing on kind of a more new and improved brand of comedy, something that is restricted to theatre, if you think of it that way. So when a brand first approached us to do this video for credit card, they had maxed out their budgets, And then we thought of doing something that's trend jacking, basically using what's currently in the news and making, poking fun at it, but in an interesting way. And it's threaded together with a single storyline, and we involve a brand message. So for brands also, from an advertising perspective, you have this thing called banner blindness, right? You see this ad over and over again, people tend to skip it. You watch a program, you see the commercial, and you tend to either switch a channel. And one thing we realized was there could be a more organic way to present a brand message through a story, and then use it kind of like a Trojan horse to have a brand in it. And we call it advertainment. We kind of coined that phrase. After we did it with this particular credit card brand, Ceylon, we noticed that it blew up. Like, I remember Gehan telling me, we'd be happy if we had 500 shares or something like that, and it got like 5,000 shares or something like that. And from there, it was kind of like, the next brand called us, and we did it. Then the next brand called us, and we did it. And then we decided, let's maybe start a YouTube channel, because that makes sense to kind of build an audience base you can cater to that appreciates this kind of humor, has a certain buying power, and also can help brands address this need to connect with audiences in a more organic way. And it became massively successful, thankfully, and all the work we put in has been justified by the subscribers, the reactions, and the messages we get from friends and family and fans. So I think it was more kind of like, let's try this, okay, it works, let's then move it to a platform that can reach people, let's see how we can address brand problems in getting them the reach they need, and that's kind of how it snowballed into what it is. Gehan?
Yep. Any questions from the audience? This is where you are going to feel it really bad.
Okay, helmet on.
One, why are you stealing our limelight? We want to ask. No, I'm just joking.
Okay.
A lot of brands have very senior CEOs and stuff. So when you all pitch your ideas, is there a lot of resistance to change? And how do you like switch them? Is it by numbers?
Well, what we usually do is there's a prime example. I think the CEOs actually sometimes understand when we pitch them a concept, but when we go through like an agency or whatever, sometimes it falls flat. That happened with our zombie video, because no one had ever thought of a zombie sort of thing for an advertisement. So we pitched the idea to the agency went to the client, and the client hated it, came back. The agent said, look, you got to write something completely different, because this shit is not going to work. There's blood and guts and gore and stuff like that. You know, it's not for advertising. Then the both of us said, look, get us a meeting with the board or CEO or whoever. We will pitch it. Agency, you guys also can come with us. And then we pitched it to the entire board, and they loved it. And obviously senior people. And the thing is, once you do one video, and if it works, after that, you know, they want to come back. And that's so the proof of concept is the first video. Once you get the first video right, and then the senior management is also on board with the whole idea. First up, obviously, they have a lot of jitters, but once that happens, yeah.
The CEO actually gave his Jeep for us to use in the video afterwards. So that was pretty awesome, right? So it's a matter of sometimes explaining to them what it means and how you do it and how you piece the kind of content together, because they don't really understand. They've been told about advertising and they know what they've seen. Sometimes you just need to go and explain to them, plus we have numbers to back us up. So that's always a major convincing factor.
Right. Are we going to talk in the rain?
I mean, the
Are you
mics are
willing
getting
to
wet.
get one more question out in the rain, and then we move up and you can then accost Dino and Gehan and do whatever you want with them?
No, please don't do any whatever.
Any other questions? Okay, I have one last one. In this day and age where we all talk about gender equality and all that goes on, we get umbrellas, you don't. No, I took an umbrella.
This is okay.
Oh,
This
there
works.
you go.
Golf face okay.
Yeah.
Feeling a bit Mary Poppins-ish, but anyway. So in this, both of you are in marketing. You do a lot of work in that area of digital marketing and all that. In this day and age where we talk about gender equality, women are still objectified in marketing campaigns. How would you think we can actually change this? No matter what happens, if it's an office scene, if there is a female receptionist. If it's a home, like you said, the female is in the kitchen. You'll never find a male making tea or the child's milk or whatever it is, right? So I just would like to know, how would you, in your own way, think that we can actually change this objectification of females? Remember, this happens the world over, not just in Sri Lanka. If you look at the various Swimsuit Illustrated or whatever it is, all the calendars that go out and everything, there is a lot of marketing that works in that way. How would you change it, even in a small way?
Give all the advertising to us, then we'll sort it
Money,
out.
money, money.
No, actually, Blok, you go.
See, I think one of the biggest issues is it's a deep-rooted issue. It doesn't start at the office, man. It starts at school, right? Both of us went to predominantly, it's an all-boy school. We are not taught to interact, to respect, girls, women, females. We are not taught that. We are forbidden from interacting with females from like the tiniest age. We were fortunate because we were part of these interact clubs, and we did theater and we did all these other extracurricular activities other than studying. Because of that, we started associating girls, females, our age. We understood how to respect them. But most of the time, in my school, in his school, in all these schools, not just Colombo, all over this country, these boys are not taught to interact, this basic interaction with a female. The only thing they know and hear is the shit they watch, or let's say in a movie, the porn they watch. That's the only shit they're open to. And because of that, they have no respect for women or females or girls. They don't. They just see them as a piece of meat. I think we were to a certain extent the same until we joined interact clubs, until we joined theater and started doing all these debating and stuff like that. That's when we realized, okay, maybe we should change the way we think on how to respect a woman or how we treat a woman. And I think that deep-rooted issue needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed in school, in universities, and then we can probably fix it in all these offices or whatever. But I think it needs to start at school level, and especially going to these all-boys schools. Even in girls' schools, if you talk to the principals out there, they don't allow the girls to interact with boys at all, right? So it's one of the biggest issues here, and that needs to be fixed for us to fix anything, I think.
Yeah, there are a lot more conversations around that which Gehan mentioned, which is basically to do with things like consent, also respecting people's boundaries. If you notice, a lot of the time on roads, it's schoolboys that are heckling girls, right? It could be someone who's going to work. It could be someone who's just stepped out for lunch. It could be, because I worked at a place that intersects near like 4 schools. And you see it every day, like people who work with us, girls who work with us, don't step out during the lunch hour because it's straight out of school. And they know they're going to be heckled, stones are going to be thrown at them, things are going to be said at them, and they don't want that to affect them at work. And I think the reason for that is because it creates this kind of tribal mentality within schools when girls are vilified or told like that you're not to interact with them. In girls' schools, if you talk to a boy, you're a slut. So like it's constantly this culture of like vilification, separation, segregation that kind of makes kids not want to interact, and so they get their opinions and notions from their peers, or worse, from the internet. So because of that, what happens is these conversations completely fall apart, and then a generation grows up believing that they treat their significant others badly, they treat their spouses badly, and things just continue to snowball from there. So I think the main thing, as Gehan mentioned, is those things need to be resolved probably even from a primary education perspective. And also if children had more opportunities to interact with the opposite sex, even though they are from a government school or from a private school, I think that would be vastly different, because you see that mental difference in kids from international schools, right? If you notice that, like a lot of the time, they are not, like, they can interact with girls fine, but whereas guys will make fun of them, but if they're alone with one, they can't even make conversation. So it's what it is, and I think that needs to change, and we are grateful for things like Interact, which change those perspectives for us. And I think that should continue if things are to change.
Yeah, I think in local schools, you're given more street cred if you can make fun of a girl than talking to a girl. So therein lies the problem.
Any questions? You realize you're all having a shower at Tharu Villas right now. Yeah, just one more. What does it feel like wearing a dress and putting on false boobs and putting on a wig?
Doesn't feel any different. I mean, look, it's like we are who we are. I mean, we're portraying a character, and you take on character traits, but you don't try to be overly effeminate, if you know what I mean. Like, women don't just do ooh, ah, all the time, right? I mean, they're very strong, powerful women. There are characters that can be quite intimidating if you really think about it, right? So it depends on the character, it depends on the age. We take on traits that are age-oriented, we take on traits that are character-oriented, and we portray them in the same way we would portray a man. That would be the best way to put it.
Enough. And
Yeah, same.
thing. Okay. So I'm going to let everyone go at this point of time. You're all invited upstairs for canapes and aperitifs, and also to do whatever you like with Gehan and Dino. Up to you. Enjoy. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for
you.
joining
Thank
us
you.
today.
Thank you for
Thanks for
having
having
us.
us. Thank you.
Thank you so
Boys.
much. Thanks.
Thank you for all the support we have received for the last 4 days. And thank you to Cargills and to UNFPA and all our sponsors who have been with us 4 days running. We hope to do this next year as well. Thank you.